This week's Ukraine Today documentary looks at the social issue of women who've been forced to seek work abroad in order to support their families, and the impact this has on the families they leave behind. We're joined in the Ukraine Today newsroom by Liza Rai. Liza, welcome. Liza is from the La Strada organisation, which is a Ukrainian NGO which focuses on gender issues and also looks at specifically the social orphans who are created by the working abroad of many Ukrainian women. Liza, could you first of all perhaps give us an indication about how many Ukrainian women, according to your information and according to the government statistics, have left the country as economic migrants over the last 20 years of independence?
Well, the most probably interesting situation about this case and also human trafficking is that nobody knows the real scale of the problem. Absolutely nobody, because some people have left and then come back but never seek for any help, so nobody knows about them. And some people left and they are still there and nobody's looking for them. So that's it. If we will look at some data provided by international organizations, usually UN structure, or for example some organizations of Council of Europe, they usually speak about 3 million of Ukrainian people working abroad. If we speak about such case as social orphans, I mean children who are left here without parents, it's about 100,000 of people.
100,000 children in Ukraine, but potentially millions of people who've left. Now, of that, presumably the figure of actual mothers would be somewhere in the hundreds of thousands.
Yes, the figures are different because, the first number I mentioned, about 3 million, it's the estimation of international organization, and the second number about children, that's the data of our research that we made quite long ago in 2008. But nevertheless, that's the data we could collect at that time.
Now, the documentary features the personal stories of a number of women who are working abroad and their families back in Ukraine. One of the things that one of the most touching aspects of it is the damage that seems to be being done to the relationship between mother and child. The fact that the children have lost, in a sense, an understanding of what a mother should be. And they seem to, the document is called ATM mothers, and the idea is that they've become cash machines rather than actual parents.
You're absolutely right. Unfortunately, that's absolutely like it usually happens, because when women leave to earn money abroad, they usually are sure that they are trying to do all the best to bring up their children, to earn for their study at the university and so on. But during this time, usually it's a long time, because women leave not for a year or two, usually it takes much more time. And during this time, children lose any connection. They do not have even some correct emotional connection with the mothers, and even more, they do not love them anymore. And when, for example, mother already thinks about quitting and coming back to Ukraine, nobody's waiting for her, because it was very comfortable just to do nothing and just to get money and just to spell them, because nobody learned how hard it is to earn money and what are they earning for.
So I mean the children who are the recipients of the money have no idea, it just simply flows in, they have no idea what's behind it?
Quite often, yes.
The documentary features a lot of women who are working in, so to speak, non-prestige work or hard work, or the jobs that the local population doesn't want to do, care workers, cleaners, these sort of positions. And in a number of instances, performing more than one job. So some people are working mornings, noon and night, as it were. Is that the norm, so to speak? Is that the standard in your experience?
Usually yes. Usually it's unqualified some job. If we speak especially of working migrants in Europe, I mean in Czech Republic, in Poland, then in Italy, in Portugal, and Ukrainian women are very good in doing some housework, some cleaning and so on. Because of this, they are quite popular within people who search for such people to do this job. Yes, we can confirm that usually it happens just like this.
Now, a lot of them are also illegal immigrants or illegal workers or undocumented workers, they have very little status, so they also have very little protection. Is that something that your organisation is involved in, or can more legal protection be provided for these women who are in a foreign country basically without the protection of the law?
Yes. This illegal status is a big problem because well, any person has rights, human rights, which are just obligatory thing for everybody in the world. But when a person works illegally, he or she in fact, have any right to be protected. In the cases of violence, in the cases of some violations of their economical rights, if we speak again about human trafficking, it's about just not paying money for work, just making people work more than 10 hours a day and so on. So, I mean, and they have practically no chance to get protection. That is why the main rule, probably what we give to people who are calling our hotline is to have some contacts of some NGOs who can help in the country you are going to. Because in such situation, probably people are quite scary to go to the police, but they can contact NGOs and somehow obtain some help.
One of the themes that came out of the documentary was an anger towards Ukraine, or certainly a blaming of saying, well, the reason I have to do this is because I cannot earn a living in my own country. Is it as simple as that? Do you think that if the economic situation were better in Ukraine, that we wouldn't have this sort of social issue? Or are there also some unrealistic expectations that people here have, thinking, well, if I go there, I'll have a much better chance, my life will immediately become much better because in their perception the standard of living is so much higher there?
Well, you know, the problem is deeper, really. We can speak from our quite big experience already that sometimes, and quite in a big number of cases, the reason why Ukrainian women seek for happiness and better life abroad is domestic violence here. Because they do not see any possibility to solve the situation, and they think, okay, let it be, I will try. Another thing is really economical situation, because if we speak about big cities, it's one story, and if we speak about some rural areas, it's absolutely another story. And sometimes these women really do not have any chance to earn their living and living of their children again in their native place. That's why they try to find some other ways of solution of this problem. Now we have just recently finalized the research when we tried to evaluate the level of acceptance of being employed illegally abroad, of being employed abroad just in general, and so on. We have witnessed that not too much people are going abroad now. It's about 10% of people who were taking part in this research, but most of them are women, and 8% of them told that they are ready to work illegally, and the contract wouldn't be the main thing about their employment. And this is the potential risk of being trafficked or getting in some other trouble.
Caught without rights, as it were.
Yes, absolutely.
The economy in Ukraine at the moment is going through a very rocky patch.
Yes.
We've seen significant reduction in people's incomes. People are losing jobs, and the currency obviously is struggling significantly. Are you noticing, or do you anticipate a new wave of a new generation of women, mothers, seeking work abroad to escape from the economic problems in Ukraine?
Well, during the recent calls on our hotline, we see the increase of calls potentially connected with human trafficking, because people call us and say that they are, friends, relatives went abroad and are missed. It's quite typical situation of human trafficking. What's curious about that all that cases were about Russian Federation.
People went to Russia?
Yes. About working migrants, we still do not have any precise data, because just people are calling and asking about going for work abroad. It's a normal situation for our hotline, but still we do not see some big rise of it.
Now, on a social level, or perhaps on a human level, people are going to continue to work abroad, and that is part of the global economy per se. What would be your advice, and what does your organisation say to mothers who are abroad in order to keep their families together? How can they maintain the emotional bonds with their children when they're so far away?
That's a very complicated question, you know, about the emotional connection and so on. Of course, we never can advise people not to go abroad, or if you have, for example, a situation of domestic violence, just to divorce. We just can't advise that, because person has choice personal. But we always advise to to be aware of the safety rules, just simple things, and if especially you have children, so what's the first thing you have to do if you have decided to go for a walk abroad? It's to leave as much contact information you can, then to leave the copies of your documents, then to have with you the contacts of NGOs that can help women, and of course the contacts of Ukrainian embassy in the country you're going to. Also to have the different alternative ways to connect with your relatives and especially children, just in case, for example, you have some troubles with your mobile phone, so you have to have, for example, some email or Skype or something else, because now it's not a rule for all the Ukraine still, but to have some alternative ways and try to use them just in any possible situation. So like this.
Very sound advice. Liza Rai, thank you very much for joining us today
Thank
in the
you
newsroom.
very much.
Good luck with your future work.